Hello, John. This is your booster that you rebuilt and sent to me for testing. Let's go over a few things before we crank up the machine. Yours is a real early booster, and you do not have a port right here to put a vacuum hose, which operates this gauge right up here. This is what the port looks like. This screw comes out, and you put your vacuum gauge right in here, vacuum hose in there. We rebuild these units. You can see this one's got a mating surface here, and up inside here, you can't see it on from either direction, but there's another rubber mating surface in here, check valve, and so this pops in and out, and this is what controls the booster. And if these things leak, it leaks air through here. Also, if this vacuum diaphragm leaks, you'll get an air leak through here as well. And what would happen is when you activate the booster, hit with vacuum, this gauge is going to go up to read 20 inches or better, and that's what you should see on the car. And then this gauge will go up and read 20, and then as the booster is activated, this gauge goes down to 0 the more the booster is applied. But you don't have that test port right here, so we can't do that, won't do that test. The other tests are the hydraulic, the input. Both gauges are tied together. This gauge goes up, maxes out, and this gauge goes up and reads final input pressure as supplied by my test unit. This is the output side. This gauge goes up and reads and maxes out, and then this reads final output pressure. This is a 2-to-1 boost ratio, so whatever we get here is going to be doubled over here. And without vacuum going to the booster, I'll show you how the input is the same as the output without the vacuum. So if the booster becomes inert, you don't lose brakes. You just have a harder pedal. The first thing we can do is check our vacuum, see how the unit works here. Got a vacuum leak. Let me pull the camera off. See if I can get this close enough where you can hear it. I don't know if you can hear that or not. It's another way to test. Very small vacuum leak. Yeah, you might be able to get by with that. All right, so next thing we're going to do is hook up our hydraulic. So we got input. We'll bleed the system. Make sure we're still filming here. Yeah, okay. Fluid coming out. Okay. Now, what do we got here? Where's the fluid leaking from? Must be the bleed screw. Let's see if we can snug down that bleed screw. these are SAE bleed screws, and I don't work with that very often, so let's see if I can figure out what the size these are. I have no idea what size these are. Okay, so yep, we got bleed screws that they're not tight, so let's take care of that right now. You don't need these bleed screws. You don't need this one to bleed the system. You need this one. Bleed this one first and last is the way to do it. Well, in fact, I'll leave this one open to make sure we have some fluid coming out here. So let's see, we got fluid coming out. There we go. Fluid's coming out. Tighten this guy up. See if we get pressure and with no bleeding. No. Let's okay, now we're having trouble here with the bleed screws, and the problem is possibly the cone shape down in here. Ah, damn. I'm rounding off the flats. Alright, that bleed screw is not holding. Well, I can at least test it and see if it's going to produce pressure inside, see what else is leaking. So what I'm going to do is just, without boost vacuum going to it, I'm just going to activate the booster, and that means the input pressure should be the same as output pressure. So as soon as it hits 350, this will be 350, and that'll be 350. We'll start all over in spite of the drippage. Okay, so booster's doing what it's supposed to be doing in terms of internals here, except for this thing dripping. I have to figure out what's going on there. I'm gonna. What happens is where the bleed screw cone screws into the bottom here, that area gets pitted, and you get seepage, and that's and what unless you can go in there and clean it up with a mill or something, I'm going to recommend you just braze this bleed screw in place. Just braze it to where it won't leak under any circumstances. All right, so now let's see if this booster will boost. See what happens. Get closer to see what's going on. Yeah. I got a little brake fluid on my hands, but I'll take the camera off and get closer. Alright. We got a booster that boosts. Alright, so we got 350 in, 350 in, and 900 out. So at least a 2-to-1 boost ratio. Now then, problems we have are seepage right here. Let's see. This one is still seeping as well. I don't want to screw this one down any further. You can see the river coming down here. I don't know. These may not even be the correct bleed screws for that matter. Otherwise, looks like your check valve is holding. And other than the seepage we have right here from the bleed screw, I think you got a good booster. It boosts. Let's put it that way. Cycle it again. You can hear it chuffing. Let's see, I'll turn the vacuum off and you'll be able to hear this thing chuff a little bit. There we go, that's it, chuff. That's what it's supposed to do. All right. Well, I think overall you did a great job. Issues that might be out of your control are the bleed screws seeping. And you got a little seepage through here in terms of vacuum, but you probably won't notice it. So also, oh yeah, I only use .3 brake fluid, and so there's be a little brake fluid residual left in this thing, so watch out when you install it. I don't use anything fancy like silicone. These boosters are not designed for it. So just .3. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I think that's it. I think you did a great job. Congratulations.